Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first Anarchy analysis for the summer split in terms of our weekly predictions. Today we're covering week 1 of the summer splits, LEC and LCS's games, and oh boy, there's some big ones to cover this week, and I'm really looking forward to going over every single one and giving my prediction for them. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump straight into the LEC for our first lot of games. We start the week off with a bumper edition of the LEC, starting with G2 versus MAD. Game 1 of 3 for each organisation. And this one I feel is going to be very interesting. The team that put G2 in the lower bracket is coming up against the current LEC champions, and still technically the reigning MSI world champions if you think about it. And yeah, this is a very hard match for me to predict. I feel it's going to be a bit memey for week 1, and it is a good opener for the season. However, I feel G2 will win this matchup. It's going to be close though, and should be one that everyone will enjoy. Game 2 of the week sees Vitality and Schalke do battle, two teams that finished at the bottom half of the table last split. And for this one, I feel that Schalke will win here. Both teams haven't changed their lineup since the end of spring, but Schalke's team actually looked so much better than what Vitality's did at the end of the year, so I feel that this team that Schalke have will do better here and should realistically win this game. Next up is a fairly easy game to predict. It's going to be Origen taking on SK, the first of the games that I felt was quite easy to predict. This one I've gone with Origen over SK. Overall, I feel that Origen are slightly stronger than SK in terms of the fact that SK haven't made any changes. Origen haven't. Origen finished quite high this split. Well, in spring, I think they finished 4th, if not 3rd. And as a whole, they performed very well. Very, very strong team indeed, and so it's going to be quite easy for them to beat SK here. Next up, we have another interesting battle in the LEC, with Rogue taking on XL. This matchup I feel is going to be very, very close. It's going to be very, very hard fought. It's two teams that realistically both could have made playoffs and both could have done very well. Now, what I'm going to go for here is actually, it's going to be XL. They've made some changes in and off this season. They brought in their BTXL mid laner into their top team, replacing Mickey. Cadrill's still remained the same, he's a very strong jungler. You've then also got the new top laner from the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, I forget his name, and then you've got Torre and Patrick in the bot lane, so they've basically upped their team strength. Whereas Rogue haven't changed anything at all, but they're a very strong team, Rogue, and it's very hard to beat them. It was one of the games I was thinking maybe we make an Anarchy analysis out of, but instead I've gone for something else. And now it's time for our Anarchy analysis match of the week here in the LEC. It's going to be Fnatic taking on Misfits in a matchup that I'm very much interested in. The return of Mr. Consistent has come to the LEC. It's Kobe coming back from TSM to play on the Misfits side against the Fnatic that haven't changed anything since spring split. This team, I feel it's going to be a close one, and it's why I want to cover it as our match of the week, is it's a team that did so well that was unpredictable in spring in Misfits versus the team that everyone predicted to do well and probably win the split in Fnatic before they met G2. And yeah, this matchup should be fairly interesting. I think, in my opinion, we'll see a Fnatic win, but it'll be close and it should be a very interesting matchup to say the least. Day 2 starts off with another very interesting matchup. It's going to be Schalke Null Fear taking on SK Gaming in a matchup that again could go either way. I honestly think this might be another Schalke win here, getting two of the teams that could be around them at the start of the split this early is quite good for them. Yes, it could mean that they're going to get absolutely dominated by the rest of the league, but they could get two easy wins here, and that is something that I think is going to happen. Our next matchup is another one that I find really hard to predict. It's going to be Rogue taking on Misfits here, in a matchup that could again go either way. Both teams are playoff placed teams. Granted, Rogue got eliminated straight away, and so did Misfits, but I think what we're going to see is a Misfits win here over Rogue. The boys in blue, I feel, just might get absolutely beaten by this Wrecking Crew Misfits that honestly I think could do very well this split overall. Our next matchup that we're going to be looking at is Mad versus XL. In a good old brawl, the British team taking on the Spanish Giants in a great little matchup here. I honestly think this matchup's going to go to Mad over XL, even though XL have made these big switches during the off-season. I still think that Mad are superior, and they do have players on their team that are looking for Rookie of the Season, and probably going to be Rookie of the Summer Split overall in their contenders. It's a very close matchup to see, and I do think we're going to see that Mad win. Probably one of the easier matches to predict now in Vitality taking on Fnatic. This one, I'm going to go with Fnatic overall. The team are strong. Vitality, I just don't think they're going to do much this split at all. And as such, I see them probably one of the dead last teams here. Now it's time for another really hard match to predict. G2 versus Origen. This is probably one of the hardest games this weekend to predict. You've got two teams that are vying for the top 3 positions in the league. I honestly think this match will go to G2. But for a week 1 matchup, after G2's already had to face Mad, this is probably the toughest week for G2, because they have a third game on Sunday we need to cover as well. But this matchup, I think, will be G2's, even though it's probably the most likely one they're going to slip up on out of the 3. But yeah, this should be an interesting match to cover. Now we move over to our extra matches for this week, with our Sunday games starting with Mad versus SK. This team battle will be quite interesting to me. I feel that this could be an SK win. It's probably the most likely one they're going to get this weekend, bar say the Schalke matchup, but I'm going with Mad lines here. The team should win this one. They've got quite a few tough games this weekend, including G2, and this Mad team needs to win this game in order to actually contend for playoffs, I do believe, because this is 3 out of the 18 games that they're going to play. You're down to 15 games in order to fight for your playoff spot, and this should be one of the games that is a gimme, so I hope they do win it. Another juicy matchup here for you guys, Rogue versus Schalke. Two teams who I think could win this. Two teams that I feel are going to have a different turn of form. Rogue, I haven't seen them. I don't think I'll see them win a game until this day, which is why I feel Rogue are going to win this match against Schalke, whom have been obviously going to get 2 quite crucial wins in their run for the summer split, and I feel that Rogue should win this one, hands down win this and get their season up and running. Another grueling matchup for you guys now. It's going to be Misfits taking on Origen In our third matchup of the day, I think this one is going to go to Misfits over OG. OG suffering their first loss possibly here, this split, against a team that did so well in spring, made some big changes to the lineup, bringing in Kobe. I think this should be a good matchup and probably one of the better matches to watch this weekend while this massive mega week of the LEC is happening. I'm going to call it now. Stomp. G2 wins. That's it. All I'm going to say. A fairly interesting matchup for you guys now. XL versus Fnatic. A matchup, again, that I think could go either way. But I think this is going to be a shock to most teams and people who watch these. I'm going to go with XL over Fnatic. That's it. I think that XL's changes over the spring off-season is going to be drastically bigger than what Fnatic have done. Fnatic, I think, got unlucky in the finals of the spring split, but there was a lot of nerve showing in them games. And I think that XL can punish the sort of way Fnatic like to play, and I think they're going to do it quite well. We start our LCS split off with a good little Friday Night League matchup between 100 Thieves and the new logoed Evil Geniuses. Now, these two teams are quite strong. One made it into playoffs and so did the other. One went out first round, the other went out second round. And yeah, I think this matchup is going to go to the team that made it further in playoffs in Evil Geniuses. The team finished second overall in the spring split, and I think they're going to absolutely dominate 100 Thieves in this matchup. And now it's time for the classic Day 1 rematch of the spring split playoff finals between FlyQuest and C9. For this one, I'm gonna go with C9. They're just the superior team. They swept FlyQuest in that finals, and I feel it's gonna happen again. FlyQuest didn't stand up to C9 in the regular split in spring, and I don't think they will this split either. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago I was speaking about Evil Geniuses, but their second matchup happens first on Saturday against Counter Logic Gaming. Now, this matchup I feel is going to be good, clean, crisp, easy win for Evil Geniuses. The team should win here. They've got the far superior players. The team did so well in spring, and CLG just flopped in spring. And as such, I've gone with Evil Geniuses. Next, we have the Anarchy Analysis Match of the Week here in the LCS. It's going to be probably the El Clasico here in the LCS. It's Team Liquid versus Team Solo mid in a battle for dominance. The battle of the bot lane, I want to call this one. It's Tactical versus Doublelift. Doublelift's former team that he got benched from and came over to TSM again to relive some successful years with the team. And I think this is going to be a very good match. TSM failed to beat Team Liquid at all in spring split. Will we see that happen again this split? I don't think so. I think this matchup's going to go to TSM. I feel that the star quality of TSM's players, they've had a lot longer of a time together. Plus, you've got the Biofrost, Doublelift, Bjergsen, all mold together. They're all team members who played together before. Then you add the top side of the maps combo between Speaker and Broken Blade. It's a very, very strong lineup to say the least, and I think it should be very, very explosive in this matchup. Our next matchup is another quite close matchup in my opinion. FlyQuest versus Immortals. This matchup, I'm actually going to go with FlyQuest in over Immortals because the team, I feel, just synergizes a lot better than what the Immortals lineup looks to and appears to do. Even if Immortals have improved how they look, it's still a hard sell that FlyQuest, who are starting with solo, are gonna do well this split in my opinion, and I think this should be a very interesting match. Our next matchup is the first look at Dignitas and Golden Guardians. Both teams are very strong in terms of how they like to play, and overall I think this could be a very interesting matchup to say the least. Both teams went down to tiebreakers in their reign to get into playoffs in spring, and this was one of them, to say the least, that Golden Guardians won. In my opinion, they could have lost it, but for this one, I'm gonna go with Dignitas over the Golden Guardians. Dig have strengthened up their top side, replacing Huni with Viper, and that is such a big step up, as well as bringing in Dardoch, a phenomenally mechanically gifted jungler who can pretty much carry a game if he's given the opportunity to, and as such this matchup should be very explosive and very strong performance by either team. I'll keep this short and sweet. I am going with C9 over 100 Thieves, purely because C9 in the mid-season streamathon playing off roles looked super duper dominant, and I feel their team synergy has probably grown since spring, and I feel they're just going to dominate 100 Thieves. Another close matchup here. Again, TSM versus Dignitas is a good looking matchup, and for this one I'm going to go with Team Solo Mid over Dig. Reason being, I feel that TSM might lose against Team Liquid, but I feel that this is going to be a bounce back game for them, and considering how they played in spring, tying a 9-9 record against all teams, and realistically having 1-1s in terms of match wins against every team nearly in the league, bar say 3, it looks like they're probably going to win this one against Dig and then lose the following one, or lose both their first games as split like they did last split and Dig win, but I'm going with TSM for this one. Our second to last matchup for this week is going to be Team Liquid versus Golden Guardians. Now this matchup you'd put on paper as a Team Liquid win, and that's what I'm actually going to go for here. I feel Team Liquid should beat Golden Guardians realistically with the quality of player on their team. Even if Golden Guardians made playoffs and Team Liquid didn't, you still expect a Team Liquid win here. And our final matchup for this week sees CLG versus IMT in a matchup that I think CLG will win. I feel that they should beat IMT here. Even if they did do quite poorly in spring, this is one of the teams though I feel CLG could quite easily beat, and I feel it should realistically be a win for them. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My predictions for the LCS and LEC Week 1 are finally done. Next week, it's going to be a bumper edition of the predictions because we've got 3 games for each team in the LEC to cover, as well as 2 games in the LCS for each team. We've got to give all the results for them, as well as predict Week 2's results. Once again, my name is izlogic. If you've enjoyed this episode, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here if you want to, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.
Working hard.